What's going on, y'all? So I just learned some more stuff about Assassin's Creed character Yusuke, Thomas Lockley, and how there was some misunderstandings between what he was telling the world in English compared to what's going on in Japanese history. An individual right here, gentleman from Japan, he told me to look into this, and I was like, okay. So this site, Japanese with Naoto.com, this guy is a Japanese tutor, and he's Japanese. He covers some interesting stuff over here, giving you, a deep insight into things. It's very interesting, you know what I mean? I'm thinking about, because some people are asking me, they want me to do some Assassin's Creed games. I haven't done Mirage yet, so I could cover that for you guys. And, if you want me to do some other ones, let me know what's going on. But let's go down to this. So, they're giving you an insight right here during World War I. Perfidious, Albion promised independence to Arab leaders while simultaneously making the Sykes Agreement with France to divide the Middle East and supporting the establishment of a Jewish state. This duplicity is known in Japan as the three tongues of diplomacy. So, if you think about it, derived from duplicity, which means to lie, basically. Today, Thomas Lockley, a British man, has complicated the Yusuke issue by using English and Japanese as his literary two tongues. Outside Japan, the fabricated history of Yusuke that Lockley has basically confused people with, if you want to know what that word right there means. Disseminated in English has been accepted as legitimate, featured in the news, and visualized, creating the legendary black samurai Yusuke. While the Palestinian issue has now become hard to resolve, the Yusuke issue can still be addressed. There's even a petition demanding the rectification of the misconceptions about Yusuke that Lockley has spread. So in this article, he's going to introduce you to things and give you some highlights. So let's go right down to it. So right here, Nobunaga Yusuke, the black samurai who survived the Honnoji incident, published in Japan in 2017. Lockley calls it an academic book, but without peer reviews. It's largely based on sources and is generally not particularly considered problematic. Now, this is the African samurai one where things start to get crazy. A lot of imaginative narratives. So let's go down here. These are words of Thomas Lockley, so pay attention. Yusuke was in the temple with Nobunaga when he performed suicide, basically. There's no record, but tradition holds it that Yusuke was the one who took Nobunaga's head to save it from the enemy, Lockley said. Okay. If Akechi, you guys know what Akechi is if you play Dynasty Warriors, the enemy has gotten the head and he'd been able to hold up the head, he would have had a powerful symbol of legitimacy. Lockley explained that an act like that would have given Akechi credibility as a ruler. After the attack on Nobunaga, Akechi did not get much support and was soon defeated in battle. Yusuke, therefore, by escaping with the head, could have been seen and has been seen as changing Japanese history, Lockley said. Now, I want you guys to think about this. We played Neo. We played Dynasty Warriors. Do you know that building they were talking about was on fire? Imagine somebody like him who's only been there for a year, who's not a master of Bushido or anything, is running out of that room with Nobunaga's head against so many people in there that's better than him as a samurai. So he has the head like this running out, and then you have to have a weapon, so he's basically going to be a one-armed master running out from all those dudes who could have had bows, all types of weapons, right? All in there. He just escapes out with the head. Shut the hell up. So going down here, Naoto says, I've never heard of such a theory, and I'm sure 99.999% of Japanese people haven't seen it that way either. He has to say that because some people could be deceived. However, in the Japanese version of Nobunaga Yusuke, Lockley wrote, we're going to get this translation down here. According to a family purporting to be descendants of the Oda clan, Yusuke removed Nobunaga's head and sword from Honnoji Temple to prevent them from falling into enemies' hands. This story of Nobunaga's head is based on the claim that Yusuke helped to create a death mask of Nobunaga, which is not part of Japanese tradition. This account has several problems. First, no source, whether Yasuke was involved or not, mentions where or what became of Nobunaga's head. That means it's not available in Japanese history. Foyce's letter is the only document that mentions Yasuke's participation in battle, but also makes no mention of Nobunaga's head. If Yasuke had brought the head back to Nanbanji, Foyce would have mentioned it. Secondly, escaping from the middle of a burning temple surrounded by many enemy soldiers would have been extremely difficult. Not happening. We already know that. Even without the added task of carrying a surprisingly large and unworldly object such as a human head in addition to one's weapon. So you only have one hand to defend yourself while trying to keep that head and not, drop it or anything. And all those dudes coming after you. I mean, this is just ridiculous. You know how intense those dudes were. That's why I said, guys, just take your mind right now. Think about the Dynasty Warriors days, how intense that ancient world was. Think about Neo. Think about those games. Think about how intense it was to, do battle like that. And imagine running out a burning temple with people who are defending one of the most powerful samurais. With a guy who ain't even been in Japan for a year. He ain't... Come on, man. You're trying to give him some Jesus magic here. According to the family claiming to be descendants of the Oda family, Yusuke took Nobunaga's head and sword. Remember, this is what Lockley is saying. He's making up stuff. Sword out of Honnoji to prevent them from falling into enemy's hands. And this is based on the claim that a death mask, which is not of Japanese tradition, was made with Yusuke's help. There are several issues with this claim. First, no documents mention what happened to Nobunaga's head, whether Yusuke was involved or not. The only document mentioning his participation in battle is Foyce's letter. So, this is the same thing basically again, but if we go down here, let's keep going down. There's no evidence for Yusuke having taken Nobunaga's head. However, Oda family lore has it so. Yusuke's memory does live on in the families that were mostly closely associated with him. Another story has him associated with the supposed death mask made for Nobunaga, but this is highly unlikely. This is once again in Lockley's book. So same thing here. Now let's go down to connecting world history. First we can read this. In the Japanese version, Nobunaga Yusuke, the story is described as coming from a highly suspicious person claiming to be a descendant, and his credibility is questioned. However, in the English version, African Samurai, it is changed to the Oda family lore. Do you see this? And this is in interviews with foreign media. This is what he's telling people. Japan is not with him in this. Lockley implies that Japanese people believed Yusuke had taken Nobunaga's head. They never said that at all. It is unbelievable that a historian would exhibit such intellectual dishonesty. This book, published in 2023, is a Japanese history book involving many historians and such a peer-reviewed history book. How did Lockley portray Yusuke? Let's go down. In those days, the distinctions between samurai and other classes was vague, and there was debate to whether Yusuke truly became a samurai. He wasn't, we know that. But it is believed that at least for his lifetime, he was undoubtedly appointed as a vassal of Nobunaga. But that was from the Jesuits. In this era, the boundaries between samurai and other social classes, translation, were vague, although there is a debate about whether Yusuke really became a samurai. It is believed that he was certainly appointed as a retainer of Nobunaga at least during his own lifetime. So you kind of see in these translations. Where Lockley has called Yusuke a samurai, here he admits there is a debate about his status. You guys see this? So you gotta be careful with that. He's doing that for business and money and, for other reasons. Yusuke was captured by Akechi's retainers. But when Mitsuhide saw him, he released him because he was an animal that knew nothing. Yusuke was sent to his former master, the Jesuits, who lived in Nanbanji Temple in Kyoto. So they were in Japan, and they were colonizers. This goes all the way back to the Spanish Inquisition in Rome. When we're talking about the Jesuits, this is the church mob. They were actual slave masters. They were evil. Yusuke was captured by Akechi's retainers, but Mitsuhide, upon seeing him, you guys know him. Like I said, if you play the Dynasty Warriors and Neo games and other Koei Tecmo games, they do a very good job with these guys. You see them just over and over again. I know them very well. Samurai Warriors, you know what I mean? All those games. You just need to play them and you'll learn a lot. Released him because he considered him a beast who knew nothing. Yusuke was sent back to the Jesuits. See, that's where he came from. hmm who were his former masters. The Jesuits were greatly pleased by his release. This is the last record, mentioned of him. Due to the limited sources on Yasuke, the description ends here without mentioning Nobunaga's head at all. Writing as a historian should focus on dull, unglamorous facts like them. How did Lockley write a 400-page novel on Yasuke, African samurai? There's not really much on him at all. Barely anything. And he made up all of that. And all the other stuff was made up along with it. All the way to here to what Ubisoft is doing. That's why this had to be translated right here. So, let's go down here a little bit. A book seems to be introducing Japanese culture and history in English for foreigners. Under the entry for Yasuke suddenly states, without clear evidence, that he was the strongest in medieval Japan. He tried to make up a lot of fantasy. Yeah, let's look at that real quick. Let's look at this little thing right here in Lockley's book. Remember, this is going back to 2019. Man, he gives you that Tom Cruise appearance, doesn't he? You might be surprised to hear one of the biggest and strongest men in old Japan was not Japanese. There it is right there. Remember, there's barely anything ever said about him doing anything. He's just making this all up. But this is what you do when you make a fantasy novel. You know what I mean? When you want to make people appear a certain way, because you really are trying to target some people. And to me, you'd be telling me that, yeah, they're dumb enough to believe me. I know what they want to think. So he understands the minds of people like that. They want to believe that and defend it. That's how he's seeing it. Otherwise, he wouldn't do that. Ubisoft didn't get involved with Japan through his book because they knew what would happen. The Japanese are not going to fall for this, as you can obviously see. So he's not making this book for Japanese. He's making it for woke people. He's making it for African Americans and for people who want to support that. I'm about telling the truth. So that's how he's looking at y'all. And the way Ubisoft fashioned him with the hip-hop beats and all that. That's how all of them see everything. And it's actually rap beats. But it just goes to show you what he wants certain people to see, and knowing this would be the perfect time to do it. Why? Because the woke stuff started appearing again after 2010. It's started to come big time, and he knew what he needed to do for this moment in time on the market. These people know what they're doing. They're puppet masters. You know what I mean? They're victimizers. It's like he's the devil behind all this. Putting people to sleep and filling them up with deception. But yeah, one of the strongest men in old Japan was not Japanese. He was a man from Africa called Yasuke who came to Japan via India and China. In 1579 as a bodyguard of a European missionary. He was soon picked out and employed by the most powerful man of the period, the famous, some might say infamous, warlord Oda Nobunaga. This guy is hilarious. I just gotta laugh at this clown. Okay, so just think about what he's trying to say here too. And we know what testing somebody's might means. Yasuke was 188 centimeters tall and was said to have the strength of 10 men. He was also handsome, funny, and intelligent. He became Nobunaga's close companion, and some even say lover. See, there it is. That's where this came from. He was soon promoted and became a samurai. Remember, this was not in any of those documents. Barely anything was said. The first foreign man in history. He was given money, a sword, a house in Nobunaga's castle, and servants. We know what that means. It claims that there is a theory that Nobunaga and Yasuke were lovers. This baseless story might lead foreigners who are introduced to Japanese culture by a Japanese to believe it is a credible theory. It reminds me of the argument that we should not pick up both sides' these arguments over pseudo-history or pseudo-science. It is problematic to indiscriminately take up baseless theories. So he's saying you would never want to waste your energy after knowing that this is made up, whether this is true or not. Otherwise, you are fighting with yourself and are imagining that this is something to even fight over. It's not even real. And this is not Japan doing this. This is a British man called Thomas Lockley and other people that teamed up with him. So remember, this is before Assassin's Creed even existed. It was in development, obviously, in the back, because they were using this to do that. So, yeah, you know, he's really doing a lot here. And you know, but there's a guy called Sengoku Daimyo who is said to be 190 centimeters. Yusuke was not the tallest at that time. Likely mistranslated the term good looks and Shincho Koki as handsome. This term means beautiful or imposing physique, meaning he has a, you know, muscular body, depending on the context. You know, all people in Rome did, or anybody with the Jesuits. I mean, those guys were barbarians. Regarding the theory that Nobunaga and Yusuke were lovers, Lockley cites Screech's The Black in Japanese Art. These pages seem to be the source, but it is trivial information that should not be presented as an academic theory. That's where all that kind of stuff was coming from. And, you know, some Japanese told me that there was, you know, times back then where some of them did that. They were never next to female and they were always in battle. And that may have happened. But as far as this going on, there is no credible evidence as this being a fact. It would just be something that somebody is just kind of making up for, maybe to fit an agenda, like maybe LGBT and, you know, all that other stuff. Like I said, there's a difference between fantasy and trying to present something as historical accuracy when you didn't talk to the people. That's why we have so many misunderstandings here. This is what happens when you don't work with Japan, or work with whoever you need to work with when you want to present historical accuracy. And I think I need to present some people with some Assassin's Creed games so that they can see that Assassin's Creed games have a ton of historical accuracy in them. They're pretty damn good at it. Do a very good job with it. I mean, I love the historical accuracy of Assassin's Creed Egypt. It was good. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, oh, trust me, it's good. I like the historical accuracy of Syndicate. I like the historical accuracy of 2. I like the historical accuracy of 3. I like the historical accuracy of Valhalla. I mean, you could just, I'm telling you, like, just almost like every Assassin's Creed game, they have a ton of historical accuracy. It's done very well. Like, definitely when you get some lore, even on, what's-his-face, DeMarcus Sade from, what was it, Unity? Whichever one was in France. But they do a very good job to make sure of that. So, this type of stuff is important. I mean, 'cause this guy is basically giving you some nice translations, and he does a very good job with it. So let's go to Mr. Timon Screech. It is said to be a renowned art historian, but honestly, his writings on Yusuke contain factual inaccuracies and don't seem to be written seriously, especially the part about children's literature. It is problematic to introduce this as an academic theory. And since there are no references cited, it is unclear whether Mr. Screech created it or if it's just a tasteless joke. So it's better to say that you just don't know when it comes to this type of stuff. Even in just these few lines by Lockley, there are more numerous mistakes and historical revisions, such as intelligent and became a samurai. And I know what they mean. Like, he wanted to do that because that's what he wants you to believe and see. It's not that he believes that to be true. No, it's what he wanted to write for his book. There's a difference. This man is not dumb. We know that. No, but what he's doing is dumb, though. Now, let's keep going down here. Lockley clearly states that Nobunaga instructed Yusuke to ensure his head did not fall into enemy hands. He brings up an entirely uncommon legend in Japan that Yusuke lived happily with his wife and children, but omits the fact that Yusuke was returned to the Jesuits. Yeah, I don't think you want to be with them. It's like being with Satan's children. But, yeah. Now, Lockley himself created this ridiculous legend. Fast forward 2 centuries, and this face appears. Tamaki Misuya, 23 years old and a retainer of Kawada, Lord of Sagami, modern-day Kanagawa, near Tokyo, and senior vassal of the Shokunal house. The Tokugawa, both his lord, Kawada, and Tamaki were members of an 1864 Japanese mission to Paris seeking French support to revenge on previous treaty commitments and close down the fast-developing international port of Yokohama near Edo, soon to be renamed Tokyo, because Edo was the name of Tokyo before it was Tokyo. Tamaki's photograph was taken in a Paris salon by the famous photographer Antonio Bito. Tamaki and his colleagues have traveled there by way of Africa, even posing for a photograph in front of the Sphinx on the banks of the same river, the Nile, by which Yusuke had been born approximately 300 years before. There is no more information about this fascinating man. However, if not for the samurai garb and sword he wears, you might easily mistake him for an African. There's absolutely no proof Yusuke was Tamaki's ancestor. It could just be one of those coincidences or even a trick of the camera lights which suggest such mixed futures. Still, several clues make Tamaki worth considering. First, the second Chinese character in his given name is the same as the Ya in Yasuke's name, and it's quite a common Japanese practice to carry on the use of a character through the generations. Such customs have sometimes lasted hundreds of years and continue to this day. Second, the house he served, the Kawada, had originally served Nobunaga's bitter enemies. The Usugi, but around Yasuke's time, entered the service of the Oda-allied Tokugawa clan. It is entirely within the realm of reason that after leaving the Jesuits, Yusuke was offered a position by one of Tokugawa Ieyasu's followers. After all, he had traveled extensively in the lands, and one of their leading retainers, Matsudara, I don't know if that's, okay, Aitada, recorded the African samurai in his diary. Perhaps it was at the behest of Ieyasu himself, who later employed and promoted foreigners such as the Englishman William Adams, that guy was actually a real samurai. He came over to Japan and did a lot of good things with them. You can look into him, guys. William Adams is actually very legit. He's English. I'm aiming to publish my article on Yusuke today, but one of my favorite bullshit claims around him that I've come across in my research is that he had descendants. Thomas Lockley's book, African Samurai, is full of these baseless speculations. Read this hilarious passage, which we just read. I'm aiming to publish my article on Yusuke today. Well, yeah, that's basically what we just said. Which battles did Yusuke fight in? Yusuke was in 2 or 3 battles with Nobunaga. The first was when some ninja attacked him. The second, when Nobunaga conquered the lands around Mount Fuji. And the final one was the Honnoji incident. Yusuke's main duties were to protect and give advice about the outside world. Lockley claims Yusuke fought when Nobunaga was attacked by ninjas. What he is talking about, or what is he talking about? It is really okay to introduce the story to foreigners who want to know Japanese history. Conquered the area around Mount Fuji probably refers to the Koju Takeda campaign. Let's keep going down. This episode seems to be from Lockley's novel African Samurai, The True Story of Yusuke, a legendary black warrior in feudal Japan. Its content is like even Iga Ninja Boy's assassination techniques using feints were no match for Yusuke's huge frame and power. It should not be introduced. They're basically just saying like he's fabricating more shit again and it's not real. So as we keep going down, we kind of get the idea here of this website. I'm going to put it in my description so you guys can go to it and read it yourself. Conclusion. Thomas Lockley rewrote Yusuke's history with 2 tongues. Thomas Lockley has attempted to politically correct Japan's history using the 2 tongues of English and Japanese. In non-peer-reviewed media, he seems to narrate his fantasies as historical facts. Today, many foreign fans of Yusuke cite Thomas Lockley's works and news articles to argue that legendary black samurai Yusuke existed. To stop this historical revisionism, Lockley himself must retract his claims. He seems to freeze his Facebook account but has not yet retracted his theories. He says right there, I'll be freezing this account. I hope not forever, but who knows. He admitted and corrected his false claim that Sakujin Karino fact-checked his work, mentioned in an interview with Japan Times, but he has not retracted the even more blatant lie that Yusuke was called Lord so he can be considered a samurai. The Japan Times article by Yusuke in Assassin's Creed has been corrected. Man, just the fact that he even had to do that just tells you a lot. So, the dead cannot speak, no matter how carelessly modern historians talk about Nobunaga, Yusuke, and past Japanese people. They cannot complain. Lockley uses the dead to spread political correctness. This is not history, but mere ideology. Nihon University, which hosts such a historian, should take immediate actions to address this issue. So there y'all have it. This was written by, you know, this individual. This is a pretty long one. I mean, he did a really good job going through this. Right here, Naoto. An online Japanese teacher. I live in Akihabara, Tokyo, and I'm a huge fan of anime and games. He graduated from university in March 2021. So this is a young gentleman here. But, you know, you can read stuff about him here. It's been around. And, you know, it's good that he did this. So he's the one responsible for covering some stuff on Thomas Lockley. And like I said, if I get some more stuff, I can do some more things. If y'all want me to cover some more stuff for Western society and for other people, I can do it. We need to get as much information out here as possible. I thought I was probably done with the last video, but somebody wants me to keep continuing. And I'm doing this because, you know what? I'm growing and I'm doing the right thing, and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? I really like doing this. It's very educational. It's very enlightening. This is really being awake about things. And like I said, if y'all want me to do some Assassin's Creed games to show how it's historically accurate, I can do that. I haven't done Mirage. If y'all want to gift me something, go ahead. I got PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So, like I said, you can DM me on my Twitter or contact me on my Twitch. It doesn't matter because obviously you can't do that on YouTube if y'all wanted to do that. But other than that, yeah, glad to cover this. And like, subscribe if you guys like this type of content. And like I said, when I get into something, I go into it deep. And yeah, I don't know if I'm done with this because there's always more stuff coming up. But we'll see. All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a great day, great night, wherever you're at around the world. Peace.